So no PPT. We prepared one, but we'll avoid PPTs and have a discussion instead. Yeah. So the crux of the session here is that we discuss the three models, right? That B2G institutional sales and B2C, that's business to customer. If the B2C model has to work, if you expecting students to pay for what they're aspiring for, or they want a shot at something which they really want badly, you'll have to get them to pay. It's like building a Tata Nano, a perfect car for a low income segment and not having petrol pumps across the country. So, and then wondering why the car not selling. So what we have to do is at least give the money in the hands of the students so that they can pick and choose their courses and they can pick and choose which profession they want to undertake. When training providers are struggling in terms of how to schedule their batches or what the courses they need to run, if the student has the money in their hand, they'll tell the training providers in terms of what they should be trained for. So I think that's the crux of the entire session. If we can take that 1,000 rupee and rather than giving it to a training provider, we should give it in the hand of the student. It could be a loan, it could be a voucher. And second aspect was the default guarantee structures that we've been discussing. We had a joint study with NSDC where we tried and evaluated this aspect. We spoke to microfinance institutions and banks. Banks have an issue in giving out loans because they have a bad experience with the education loan. The situation gets a little political when they try to recover the loans from students. They had a bad experience in Tamil Nadu. The default rates are up to 40% in certain states. So banks are not very averse to lending because of high cost in terms of acquiring customers and again tracking customers to repay the loans. So what we thought was if we can just, rather than giving 1,000 rupee in the hand of a student, if we can just give it to a bank as a default guarantee, a backstop for defaults, and if they can lend almost 10 times the amount, you've just leveraged your cash and student gets the money in hand, right? So that's the simple concept. Rather than giving away a grant directly to the student, just put that 100 rupee as a default guarantee fund and let the banks start lending. At least you kickstart a market and you have lenders coming in as such. Another good aspect of this is that, for example, a lot of foundations who want to have a very targeted approach to training students. If you have banks lending, you have an entire balance sheet of which are the kind of students who've got trained. So tomorrow DFID or somebody else can come, I want 5,000 students to be trained in the northeastern region. You just have to go to a couple of public sector banks and tell them that we'll write off all the loans given off to students in the northeastern region. So it has huge implications if we can set up this lending network as such. So maybe we can take more questions about this aspect during the discussion, but just wanted to introduce this idea to the audience. Yeah, one thing just wanted to say is that most of us have been thinking about students with their past income. So like for example, it's like giving a need-based scholarship to an IIM or an ISB graduate, and most of them will get a 15 lakh job after graduation. So when we are looking at these students as potential customers, you have to look at what they will earn once they finish training. So I think at least one partial mindset change has to be there from that aspect. And secondly, even students will take risk because they understand the capability the best. No, none of us will be able to analyze how driven or how capable a particular individual is. So once you let them take the risk by letting them choose the courses or how much loan they want to take, I think half the problems will get solved in terms of the matching issue. Students basically, I think, are the biggest beneficiary in this entire system and they carry the least risk, I think. They basically have the information about the capabilities. They can get into an institute, they can not study and they'll drop out. Institute can give them a job and they'll not take it up. They can go to the employer and they quit in 3 months because they don't like the food. At every stage, basically, student carries the least amount of risk in the system. In fact, for Talent Sprint and NSDC themselves launched that loan product with Central Bank. So while structuring, one of the issues that we kept facing was that imagine if we have a free-flowing loan market, will the training providers just go out and keep filling their classrooms? Because students don't have to do anything, just start taking loans from the bank, fill their classrooms and just get students out in the market without jobs.
The bank goes out of business.
Yeah. So that was one of the biggest issues that we had. That students basically can come and you can offer them food and everything, fill your classrooms and 5 years you make your money and then banks will suffer. So there what we try to do was get the training provider, rather than a penalty as such or taking a risk, we have that 10% money will come back to the training provider. It's as good as 10% addition to your margins, right, for a student. So we tried to, the transaction costs are higher with putting these systems in place, but that was the entire idea of.
So training provider is on the hook as well.
Yeah, the money
to some extent on the default. That is the point.
So how it works?
Some skin there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have 100 rupee loan being given, where the margin money of student, the 10 rupees will be in the bank. 10 rupees from the training provider will be in the bank. So you have 20% default guarantee there itself. And if any foundation or any government wants to do it, put 10 more rupees, for example, as a default guarantee. So you have 30% default covered there itself in the bank till the repayment happens. And the bank has to take some 10-15% risk. So where else will you find almost 40 to 50% of your defaults getting covered in the product, and everybody gets the money back if the loan is repaid in the end. So that was the entire idea that we thought of. So if you have 100% default guarantee, you have the voucher conceptually. So idea is that if we can get a lot of lenders into the market, students start getting choices, and there are multiple structures that can be created. If you have a cash collateral with 10 rupees, you can give out 100 rupees worth of loan. If you do, for example, a corporate guarantee with 1 rupee, you can give out 100 rupees worth of loan. So your money doesn't get stuck, and you can still catalyze a big market.